welcome back to Opal&Mint. I am Ashley, and if you are new here, which you probably are because we only have 4 videos so far, I love all things watercolor, and I wanted to go ahead and start building up our videos with testing different watercolor products. I have a Watercolor 101 video up now. If you want to get started, if you are new in watercolor, you want to learn the basic techniques and how to get started, I will link that video below. Today I'm testing out some inexpensive watercolor supplies, and we're going to put it to the test and see if it's worth buying and trying. So that's what I'm doing today. I went to my local Five Below, and I've heard a lot about this watercolor paper from Five Below. This is HQ Fine Stroke Series watercolor, 9x12, 36 sheets, 300 GSM. I've been told it's cotton, but it doesn't say that on here, so I'm not going to tell you that this is cotton paper. I'm just going to test it out and see how it does. I have already done a few tests in here that I will show you, but we're going to get to actually painting as well. But I also, while I was picking up that paper, found these watercolor paints. This is lighter than air, it feels empty, but we're going to see if these metallic chameleon watercolor color shifting iridescent paints are any good. So let's go ahead, we're gonna flip the camera around and point down at the desk. I am going to test my Daniel Smith paints on this paper, and then I'm also gonna test out the cheap paints as well, just so we can see and test out the paper, the paints, all the above. So let's flip around and get to painting something, because that's why we're here. We love to paint. All right, so here is the watercolor paper. I'm going to first show you a few of the things that I quickly painted in it just to get a feel for the paper before I started. I just put a bunch of random brush strokes. I was testing out some different brushes and stuff, and this is just a random page, okay? All of this is going to be random. And then here I was swatching a bunch of paints that I had just gotten to test out as well, and you can kind of see how the paint reacts to water and pigment and too much water. Let's see, my favorite is the very, very light amount of water. So I had some dry brushing here. Even with the small amount of water that I had on this page, I don't know if you can see this, but it is bending. It is a thick paper, but I don't find that it does super well with a lot of water. Here is a page I put a lot of water on, and it does, like, it's fine, it just buckles a lot. The texture of it is a lot smoother than what I'm used to. It does have a texture to the paper, but it's a little bit smoother of a texture than what I am used to. But all in all, it is a very good paper for practicing. So if you have, So if you are wanting to practice a new technique, wanting to practice new brush strokes, this paper is so inexpensive. It's super, it's a very good paper to do that. But aside from that, it's not bad. So like these flowers, I don't hate. I think that it actually takes the paint very well. This is very saturated, and yeah, it's all in all for $5. This is not a bad paper. Now, it's not one that I would want to use for like my paintings I'm wanting to frame or scan in for selling prints, but for practice paper, I don't really know that you can find a better one. I actually prefer this to the Canson XL, which is, I think it's about $11 for a pad of that. How many sheets are in it? And there's 30 sheets. So it's easily double the price. And I think if you can find a Five Below, grab a couple of these and practice away. But let's go ahead, and I think I want to try out the paints first. Where did I put them? I already lost them. How did I lose them? This is, oh, they're under the Daniel Smith paints, that's why. The land of the artists, stuff is everywhere. Okay, so these are Chameleon Watercolor Color Shifting Iridescent Paint. Includes bonus paintbrush. Yeah, let's see how the paintbrush is. And I believe this was, again, $5. Yeah, definitely a very cheap kind of blunt round brush. Don't think I'm going to use that. 13-piece set. This is so funny and lightweight. There's not a whole lot of paint in it. But let's get a brush and just do some swatching first. Pick a brush, Ashley. Okay. All right, so I have the Fine Touch round 12 brush. This is my dirty water. My dirty water has to be on my right side. The dirty water for me has to be on the right and clean on the left. Like, that's just how I do. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go through, and this kind of reminds me of an eyeshadow palette, and I have a makeup channel, so I swatch eyeshadow palettes as well, and it's reminding me of eyeshadow pans. And the way I normally do eyeshadows is I go left to right, so we're gonna do that. Let's see, these are supposed to be color shifting. Let's add quite a bit of water because it doesn't look like, oh, there we go. It's activating, okay? All right, let's see, I'm just gonna, oh, that's so funny. It doesn't look brown in the pan. I'm very curious to see what these look like after they're dry. Let me see if I can dip in and get more color on one side. So I found I haven't tried a ton of brands yet to watercolors. I'm still fairly new to trying out different watercolors. But what I found with some of the cheaper ones that I haven't liked, they have this like gummy quality to them. So like, I don't know if you can see this texture where you see these like gummy strokes. It's the only way I know how to describe it is gummy. And that is kind of what that feels like to me. So let's see how that looks after it dries though. Let's continue. All right, this is a beautiful purplish metallic. Let's dig into this and see. Oh, it looks brown also. Why does it look brown? Okay, if these all turn out brown, I'm going to kind of laugh cry. Okay, that one is a little bit, well, I was gonna say less gummy, but it's still a little bit gummy. Yeah, definitely. Okay, there's the purple. All right, let's try out the blue. Surely the blue can't be brown, right? This feels like a kid's makeup set that is like plastic and doesn't actually have makeup on it. That's pretty sheer, but hey, we have some blue, you know? There's actually some color there. It's not getting any darker. That is what it is. It's kind of a greenish blue on the paper. Okay, let's go into this gold. So far, I'm gonna say I wouldn't waste your $5 on this, but let's see. Maybe we can paint something pretty. I haven't had a lot of experience with metallic paints so far. I've tried a Koi metallic, and then I have a Paul Rubens set of metallic paints. And from the ones that I've tried so far, they all seem to be fairly sheer. I'm sure there's lots of metallic paints out there that aren't sheer, but I don't know if it's harder to get an opaque metallic. Please let me know if you know in comments. But so far these all seem to be very, very sheer. And I'm trying to dig in and get some paint out of here. All right, let's try this color. This, if it was an eyeshadow, like this looks like a pretty eyeshadow that I would wear. And it is sheer. Dig into this color. Yeah. Curious to see how they dry. All right, let's go on to this pinkish, reddish, coppery. I'm not really sure what it's gonna look like on the paper. So there was one other watercolor set at Five Below, and it was not metallics, but it looked so childlike and vibrant and chalky that I thought this looked a little more interesting. So this right here could be a beautiful color. Oh, they look so pretty in the pan, and then like vibrant and metallic in the pan, and then on the paper they're just like wah wah wah. I'm trying to get some more out, and it's not getting any darker. This doesn't feel like watercolors at all. It just feels like, I don't know. That one's actually drying fairly pretty though. I'm getting really sad about these. Now I want to try some metallics that actually look good. If you know any really good metallic watercolors, let me know. I'm sure there's some good handmade ones, which, by the way, I'm very chatty today. I ordered my first handmade watercolors and they have shipped, and I am so excited for them to get here. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get here, but I'm going to be illustrating a children's book, and I got these the handmade ones for the illustration because they're the colors I wanted, and I couldn't get them out of my mind. They were just so pretty. So stay tuned. As soon as I get those in, I will definitely, oh, there's another one that looks like brown. I will definitely be trying those out for you. Okay, so I'm gonna let those dry, but as they're drying, I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to paint, I don't know, some kind of flower. Let's just see what happens. I mean, it's showing up. They definitely don't act like typical watercolors for me. Let's see. Let's try this green. They're not like blending into each other very well. Yeah, I think the texture, I would just call these as gummy. They're kind of gummy. I think it'd be fun for kids to play with, but I don't know. Let's see this purple. See if I can get a rose going with this purple. Although it might be a very, very light rose. I normally go in and add darker for shadows, but I don't know that that's gonna work with this one. Yeah, they just don't blend into each other at all. And I would say that could be partly the paper, but I have already tried this paper and it does let colors blend, so yeah, definitely a letdown on the watercolors themselves, but God, the texture of these is what I can't stand. Okay, I want to try and drop in some color into this leaf. Let's just see. There we go. Blending it, hey, it's blending out a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna actually paint with some real paints on this paper so you can see how the paper behaves with my Daniel Smith paints. Okay, so let's take my Daniel Smith paints, and let's see here. I actually swatched all of these yesterday. So here are the colors that I have in my Daniel Smith paints. And this is on the Canson watercolor paper that I was talking about earlier. It's funny, the texture is similar, but like it's a smaller, I don't know how to say the word I'm trying to say right now, but anyways, let's do some painting and see how we feel about this paper using professional paints. I'm gonna dive in here. Let's take some yellow and I'm just gonna do some random things here. Okay. It's very weird painting with a camera, like it's in front of your view, and then there's like a microphone in your face, and it's very interesting. So like you see your favorite artists and YouTubers, just think what the behind the scenes looks like, because it's always fascinating to me. Now these color bleeds are beautiful. I'm not trying to do anything super realistic or anything right now. I'm just wanting to play with the paints and see how they do. Now that yellow bled really nicely into that, so the paper did not hinder that at all. Okay, so there's just a simple flower. Let's see here. I want to do something that requires more water so we can see how this paper does with some water. Let's do a rose just for fun. So the paper does dry very fast. That looks like it's already dry. Maybe an orange rose. So we got lots of water in those petals. Let's see how that dries. Let's do something with this. Does my mind go blank when I'm on camera and I'm trying to think of something to paint just to test these out? Seriously, mind is blank. This flower actually looks really pretty. See how that bleeds into there. So as this is drying, there was like a pool of water here. You can definitely see a little bit of blooming going through there. A lot of papers do that though. It seems to be drying fine. It does dry fairly fast though, which is to be expected if it's not 100% cotton. Even some cotton papers do that. I was actually going to test those paints on this cotton paper in a second, but let me try and paint one more thing before my battery dies and have to start over. Let's see here. Add in some color. See how those colors bleed. And we're going to take some green. See how this does. So the colors do seem to bleed pretty well, using some nice paints. Again, the paper is already dry in spots and I just put that down, so it definitely dries super quick. But again, what I would use this paper for is just practicing brush strokes, practicing shapes, and not necessarily worrying too much about how it's gonna dry and bleed and all of that. So, I mean, if you just need to practice your leaf shapes or your petals, or just any kind of brush work that you want to practice, different angles, that's what this paper is going to be good for. I definitely am not going to be using this to paint any of my, you know, special pieces or anything, but it is a great practice notebook. So far I'm loving it. I actually want to, we're going to set this aside and I actually want to try those metallic paints on 100% cotton paper. And before that, I did want to show you how these dried. So that still has a little puddle there, but they do have a sheen to them. So they are kind of pretty when they dry. So let's see what I can do on cotton paper. See if we can make something pretty. So I've got some B paper. This is 100% cotton B paper. It's like a 6x9 or something. And we're just going to, I might speed through this just so you don't have to sit and listen to me and whatever, but so we can just kind of see what the end result is. But I think I'm just going to do some quick little floral arrangement. Yeah, so let's get to painting. it is, I'm gonna let that dry and then we'll kind of see how it's looking. All right, so the paint has dried, and let me turn the ISO down so you can see the reflection. Here's what it looks like. I actually don't hate it. It's, I mean, compared, if you look at the colors in the pan and the painting, they don't look anything alike, but I actually really love the muted kind of vintagey feel that it has. They're very light. They're very transparent. They are a little bit gummy and a little bit, the texture's a little weird, but it's kind of fun. I don't hate it, and I'm kind of curious if I scan this in what it's gonna look like, because obviously you won't see the metallic in a scanned in image, but yeah, let me know what you think, and I'm curious, have you tried any of the Five Below products? Let's see what the final result was on this. So again, this is the Five Below, here I'm gonna make a note on this. Five Below paper with Daniel Smith paints. Okay, so again, this is the Five Below paper with Daniel Smith paints, and I think it actually does pretty well. It held up pretty nicely. That's hilarious. This is still a puddle right here. It's kind of, anyways. So yeah, let's flip through just so you have one last look at these paper and how the paints look on top of it. So yeah, there is the, I guess, initial review or testing out of the Five Below stuff. Let me know if you've tried this. I've seen a lot of people talking about this on YouTube. I've seen YouTubers do videos on this, and I've read through the comments of people who are loving this paper. So I would like to know, have you tried this and what are your thoughts? But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this one. If you have any suggestions for what you wanna see next, if you are curious about my favorite paints, maybe my favorite colors and brands, again, I am fairly new to the watercolor testing world. I've been painting with watercolor since 2020, but I've just started branching out and buying different paints and papers. But I do have favorites, and I have tested a few things out. So if you want to know my favorite papers, my favorite paints, or just if you want to know how to paint a certain thing, I would also love to do that as well. So let me know in the comments what you want to see next, but that's going to wrap it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. It will help get this channel going, and if you want to see those future videos, hit that subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. And also, if you haven't, and you're also, my orchid flowers are falling. No, please ignore the background. This is a messy room. It's an art room.